Jennie Gorman, welcome to The Point TV.
Thank you.
I tell you what, I did some research on you before I arrived here, and it's amazing. If I wouldn't mind, I want to read this out for you. I did a Google search, and when I typed in Jennie Gorman, I got 380,000 hits. Now, when I went into images, there are 19 different people who look similar to you but aren't you. When I looked up Jennie Gorman in the Urban Dictionary, this is what it said. Jennie is cute and shy but outgoing when you really get to know her. She's your best friend that you could have. She is trustworthy, sometimes self-conscious but sometimes vain. An all-round good person.
Thank you.
And then I scrolled further, and not thank you me yet. Then I scrolled down a little bit further and it said this: someone with sexy hips, an amazing voice, big boobs, and is all-round sexy.
Oh, thank you.
That's what it said. That's what it said. Now, I also did a Google search on what we're about to talk about, which is an on-purpose life. Did you know there are 46 million returns on this? 46 million on an on-purpose life. And Amazon have 158,000 books on the very topic. I've nearly read every article. So, I think to start, for the people like me, let's just define what is an on-purpose life.
From my perspective, an on-purpose life is living a life doing what it is you're here to do on this earth plane. So it's different for everybody, and it comes back to how aware you are as to what it is you're meant to do with your life. Who are you meant to be?
Because I think for someone like me, I may have been searching for what my why is, because that's the big thing, you know, what's your why? And I can get into such a big turmoil of things trying to find out what is my why. Some days it'll be, you know, looking after kids, you know, with a lack of education. Other days it'll be looking after stray dogs. Other days it'll be doing this. So I guess for me, trying to find out what my why is difficult. So for you, what's your why?
Making a difference. Every morning I wake up thinking about, what am I meant to be doing today? What does my day entail? Who am I going to touch? Who am I going to have contact with? When I go to bed every night, I go through a similar ritual as to where have I made a difference? Who have I changed? Whose lives have I changed? As a result of what I've done during that day, or a lot of it is with social media. I find that I get a lot of people on social media who contact me privately who just want to talk. Who are going through a rough time in their life and need someone and they don't have anybody. And it may be in conversation through social media, it may be through a phone call, it may end up through an email, I don't know. It goes wherever it goes. But if I can support somebody who needs support, I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing.
You see, for me, for example, your question to me might be something like, so Gerald, why do you do this? I mean, there is a payoff. There's always a payoff. We do something for a reason. And the payoff might be that, you know, there might be thousands of people that might jump on, have a look at this interview, and then just go, wow, I need to connect with Jennie, or I need to jump on the couch with Gerald. So for me, there's not so much an egotistical side of me, but there is a side of me that says, I'm doing this because of a reason that I'm going to get something back. Even though I'm not after getting something back. But intrinsically, what's your payoff?
For me, it's knowing that I've supported somebody. I'm a great believer that if you do anything in life to receive something in return, you're not giving it freely. So for me, it's all about whatever I do, if I can change a life. And yes, people might become a client or become a friend or become a whatever. It doesn't really matter. That is not my motivation initially when I connect with somebody. It's not about that. It's where I can support someone to make their life easier, or give them some information, or just be there, because it's tough. Because life is tough for most people. I'm one of the lucky people.
Because you've been doing this for a long time. You know, like both of us, we're both baby boomers.
Yeah.
Right? So we're the baby boomer age. But when I do some research on you, and I've listened to some podcasts, and I've listened to watched some of your videos, I mean, I heard a story that this goes way back to maybe even when you were at boarding school, or way back to when you were a child, like 8, 9 years of age. So what happened back then that drove you into this path that you became, firstly, how I knew you as the connection queen, or the connection person to connect people together. But then you're on this path now of authenticity, and now on this path of having this purposeful life. How did it start way back then?
I was always on the same path. Up until 1995, I was on that path more clearly in the marketplace, but in 1995 I decided I needed to go to business because it was business where the challenges were. And by going to business, it gave me the opportunity to support people to get their own awareness and self-awareness as to who they are and what they are, who they are and what they do. As a result of that, I got involved with educating people on how to build business relationships using word-of-mouth marketing, networking. I did a lot of training, a lot of talking, a lot of writing in that area. But in 2008, I realised I'd been away from Brisbane for a few years, and I came back and realised that people still weren't getting it. And that's how Mastermind came about for me. And for me, masterminding is... it's incomparable. What people can get by being with a group of people, and the right group of people, to create what it is they want to create in life is phenomenal if they want it enough.
Isn't it enough just to be?
I be every day as well.
But I mean, I heard what you were saying about helping people find their awareness and helping people find out what their purpose is. And I guess you will have some people that will just go, I need to know what my purpose is. I need to know what it is that I'm here to do.
Well, it's supporting people to find out what is their vision. What is their vision for their life? Where do they want to go? What do they want to be? Who do they want to be?
What if they just want to exist? What if that person, let me ask you this.
And that's okay too.
Yes.
Because that's their vision.
Just to exist.
Depending what they're doing in the existing. Because I believe we all have a mission. I have a belief system that we are here for a reason on this earth plane. And that reason is dependent on why we decided we wanted to be here from another dimension.
Yeah.
So when you can understand why you're here and what you're meant to be doing here, and then you can do that authentically by being real, you're doing what you're meant to be doing. So for me, it's all about being real, being who you are, not playing the game.
So what's the game?
Well, people have a lot of different masks, and their game is the mask that they play the game depending where they are, instead of being who they really are. There's none of us are perfect. I believe we wouldn't be here if we're perfect. So it's a matter of us being true to who we are. We're here for a reason. Let's learn the reason that we're here so we can better our soul and reach more perfection in a particular area so that we don't have to repeat it again. Does that make sense?
Oh, look, everything that you're saying makes sense. We're going to take a quick break, because when we come back from the break, I have something that I'm going to ask Jennie to see if she can maybe wrap around the meaning of, not so much life, but the meaning of the purpose of life. Stick around, we'll be back very soon.
You're perfect for who you are, Gerald.
That's terrific. So do you think some people can lose their way?
Of course they can. Can you imagine what it must be?
Hey everyone, Gerald Pauschmann here. You know, being the host of the Point TV allows me to listen to people like you and me who have incredible, inspiring, and sometimes sad stories. As the presentation coach, I can help you present your story the way it deserves to be told. So why not get in touch with me via the link below and let me tell your story the way it deserves to be.
Thank you for watching. You're with The Point TV, and I'm here with Jennie Gorman. Jennie, I need to ask you this. There's this old age phrase that goes around about the meaning of life. Now, I'm not going to get too philosophical about that question, but I do want to ask, what is our purpose in life? What's humanity's purpose?
To live in peace, to look after each other, to look after our environment, to look after other people, to look after our world.
You say that with such conviction that you believe it.
I do believe it.
So why isn't it happening? If that is what our purpose is, why aren't we living in peace? Are we a failure as a human race?
Probably. As awful as that may sound, I think we probably are. Because we become so self-centred as people. We want everything for ourselves and we want everything now. And the one thing that if you go back into, say, a lot of Asian cultures, everything is for the future. It's not for today. It's for future generations. Everything we do is a legacy. The difference even in years gone by when parents had wills and left things as a legacy to their children. People today spend the children's money. They go out and do whatever and spend it. No thought about the children and the next generation is going to be tougher on. We've got it all back to front.
But what if I said that was their purpose?
What, to do it tougher? They're going to do it tough anyway if they're meant to. And I believe that for everyone, we all have a different purpose. We have a different reason for being. I believe before we come onto this earth plane, we know why we're coming. We live, I believe, many, many lifetimes with the same people around us in different roles. And I believe that we come here to what I call hone the soul. We're a perfect being initially as a soul. So we come to live many lifetimes to hone that to become perfection, because once we're perfection, we don't need to keep coming back.
So I'm going to be respectful here, but would I be right in saying that you're an old soul? You've been here before?
Well, I'm sure you have too. We've been here many, many times, Gerald.
See, this is what I struggle with. No, this is what I struggle with. I'm trying to dumb it down for me.
Okay.
I don't think I have been here before, and I don't think I'll be back here again. I might not be invited back here again.
Well,
see how they laugh at that?
Yeah.
They don't laugh at anything else.
That's a decision you're going to make on another earth, on another plane.
So how do I know if you're so sure that we have, maybe some of us have been here before? Because some people will say, this is my first life here. And other people will say, I think this is my last journey.
I have to think about how I answer that, so I answer it so it makes sense for people. I believe we are a soul as an individual that needs to live the good and the not so good in life. So I believe we've been everything. We've lived the really nasty, bad, awful things as well as the good, because we have to have balance in life. I believe that we've lived all styles the longer we've lived. To be a totally new soul, for people who have been around a long time, you're very aware of new souls because there are certain behaviour within and maybe a disability or whatever within a soul if it's a very new learning soul. I believe that the mental illness that we have out there now with a lot of people could be that they are even maybe for more advanced than us mere mortals that are here. I have some very probably different views to most people from a mental health perspective. But I think that we've all been here lots of times with the exception of a certain number. We're just honing who we are. And it's not for me to tell you what you should and shouldn't believe, because what you believe is perfect for you.
Do you think some people have lost their purpose? And I'll
They didn't even know they had a purpose to start with.
Well, let me backtrack. Let's just say, for example, a really successful swimmer or a successful tennis player, sports person, a person very successful in business, all of a sudden has gained the adulation that they've reached, they've hit their pinnacle, and then kind of like it's a bit of a loss now. There's this I don't know what to do anymore. Like, I've reached the pinnacle of my sporting career, my business career. I'm at a loss now. Do you think some people can lose their way?
Of course they can. Can you imagine what it must be like to be so good at something that the world is at your feet, and you get in that to lifetime? We see it with singers. We see it in a lot of different areas with movie stars or whatever. Can you imagine what it must be like to be no one and then suddenly be someone and have total adoration from people, so that we end up going so much into our own ego that we get lost within our ego, and then suddenly we don't have any of that at all and we go back to being the ordinary mundane? I think for people who have reached that high level, I can understand why they lose their way. But here again, it's then up to them or people around them to become aware that they need some help.
And I want to talk to you about the awareness, because I think if a person has been truly successful in being able to set goals, achieve what they wanted to do at a superior and extreme level, then why can't they just replicate that again?
Because maybe they don't have the coach or the mentors or the environment around them that will give it to them. Because I believe everyone should have coaches and mentors and people that they can be learning from. Because we learn every day of our life until the day we die. And if we stop learning, we've lost what we're all about. Because we'll always continue learning.
I hear this phrase around, and while we were taking a break, one of the guys from the audience had said, do you think we've just got to this stage where we have to fake it till we make it? Put on this mask. And I think you said that too, is that, I read somewhere where you had said that your mask at home should be the same as your mask that you go out to work and that you have at the pub and that you have with your life. That's your mask. I mean...
It's like you today even talking about having the right makeup on. Well, I'm who I am. If I've got a shiny face, I've got a shiny face. So what?
But that's exterior. I get that. That's exterior. That's hair, that's makeup. I'm talking about intrinsically. I'm talking about you as the person.
And we live very differently today. When you and I started out in business years ago, we had what was called the Old Boys Network. And the Old Boys Network was all about referring the people we liked who were our friends because we liked them. Didn't matter they were any good at what they did, but we referred them to our friends who probably found they weren't very good anyway. Today the marketplace is very, very different. And so now you are judged by the referrals you give today. So you have to be very sure when you refer somebody in business to someone else that they really are who you say they are, because it's your reputation on the line. And by supporting other people and referring other people, it's your reputation that gets affected. If it doesn't work, you'll pay the price, not the person who got the referral or who was the referee.
So the person that you're dealing with may not be very authentic.
Well, it's up for the individual to know that if they're referring someone, that they are real and authentic from their perspective. Because there may be somebody that I think is real and authentic, but you may not. Because we only see the world from our own experience that we've ever had. I see the world from my life as I've seen it.
See, because I see someone like you as a very driven person. I don't know you that well. I mean, we're not connected in such a way that we've had dinners or we've had breakfast or networking functions together. But I see you, from my perception, as a very driven person. Do you think that because you've been such a driven person, that no matter what happens in this book here, this coaching session that you're doing, whatever it is, do you think you'll just go, you know what, that period of my life has ended, I can start up a new purpose tomorrow, because you're a driven person? You'd never let yourself fall.
I do. I'm very human.
But you wouldn't let yourself fall.
I have let myself fall through my own self-neglect. And I learned that this last year, learned that very dramatically, because I was prepared to probably die on a principle of what I believed was right for my clients. So yes, I self-neglect for my clients. I'm very aware of that. I'm very human.
And you were okay with that?
It's all for my learning, isn't it? I'm learning how to look after me a little bit better. It's not comfortable. Most people do it automatically, and maybe they're taught how to do it. I don't really know. For me, I was never taught to look after me because I came from an era where I was just a woman. I was female. And men, of course, were on a pinnacle, and men were perfect and women weren't. I was only a girl. And I was born in Australia. I'm a sixth-generation Australian. But I grew up very much that I was female. I was the first female in my family to actually work after they were married. Because women didn't do that, not from where I came from. And I worked because I wanted to work, not because I had to work. Because that was my choice, because I wanted to be learning, I wanted to be doing something. I was bored otherwise. I'm not someone who likes cleaning house. I pay someone to clean my house. Because that's the most important thing in the world to me. I hate housework.
Well, hold on to that thought, because I think that's exactly what we want to talk about. You touched on it earlier on about coaching and mentorship. I think that's extremely important. I want to go into that. And when we come back from the break, I'm going to backtrack a little bit with Jennie and talk to her maybe about her 8-year-old self, what she would have said to her 8-year-old self about where she is today. We'll see you right soon. Hey everyone, Gerald here, founder of The Point TV. We are looking to shake things up in 2016 and are inviting guests on the show just like you to express their points on any issue. For example, are we becoming a nation of acopic people? Should profits be put before animal cruelty? Or are we out of touch with reality? Everyone has a voice here, and we don't edit for context. It's your soapbox for 40 minutes. The Point TV. Your point, loud and clear.
Or good at it or something.
Good. Good. Thank you for joining The Point TV. I'm going to do that again because I'm scratching my armpit and that would look really uncool on camera.
For Gerald's sake, one more time.
Thank you for joining us. You're with The Point TV, and with me is Jennie Gorman. Jennie, we had a very quick break, and just before the break, I wanted to ask you this. What would you say to your 8-year-old self about you today?
Well, it's interesting you ask that question, because at the age of 8 I went to boarding school, which was an enormous shock to an 8-year-old who had come from a one-teacher school in the country, to suddenly be put into an environment where there was 150 girls of all different age groups. And being 8 years old, there were no classes that were suitable for me, so I had to go directly into grade 6. So it was an enormous learning when the kids around me could read and they could write. They knew how to hold a pencil, and coming out of school, I could hold a pencil, but I wasn't particularly good, of course, as an 8-year-old. So I learned very, very quickly survival skills. And I learned how to survive in an environment of my own. I learned about independence, I learned about responsibility, I learned about accountability. I learned things that I now realise they're all the things I teach. And I learned them because I had to learn them. Because if I wanted to eat, I had to make sure my shoes were clean before I went into breakfast. Or I had to put my washing out, because if I didn't put my washing out on a Tuesday morning, I had nothing for the next week or 2 weeks. So I learned how to play the system as a little 8-year-old, and I was a tiny little thing as an 8-year-old. And I now look back, and I write a lot about this, but I now understand why I teach what I teach, why I have such a thing for anybody who's worked with me, like quite a few of the people here have. I have this thing about accountability, responsibility, independence, reliability.
Ownership.
They're words they hear continually from me. And from my perspective, I observe that and watch that in people all the time. I watch how they live their lives, and I look at who isn't those things in their life. And I suppose in my own way, I try very hard, or I work very hard not to judge them on it, but it puts people where they're at in their own development for me to understand where people are coming from. Because we can only be the best we can be from what experiences we've had in life. So I just observe people. For me, it's just normal to watch them all the time. I watch what they write, and this is why I love social media, because I observe how they do life. Because people have no idea what they say about themselves by what they write, by what they share, by the way they communicate, whether they turn up or they don't turn up. You know, this sort of thing tells me about someone. And I remember, because the one thing I have is a really good memory. So I remember what people do and don't do. It's not for me to judge them on that, but it's for me to be aware of it, because I give people plenty of chances, but just one day, why waste my time? I'm hitting my head up a brick wall, against a brick wall. They're never going to change. They don't want to change. They don't understand, and that's okay, because it's their life.
I think culturally, some people are taught about where their life's going to end up. So I'm going to generalise here. If you're from, say, an Asian country, you may be an accountant. If you're from, say, Pakistan or India, you may end up as an engineer or a doctor. But how do you then give a person a tip to say, hey, that might be my purpose for you, is to grow up as an engineer or a doctor, but how do you help a young child develop and find their own purpose?
Well, I don't believe that's someone's purpose because someone has taught them that that's what their purpose is. That's something they need to find out inside themselves, because self-awareness is all about finding out who you are, what you are, going into that, what's called the dark side of life. It's going into understanding who are we, those parts of ourselves that we probably don't really like very much. Everyone has them. And I suppose this is for me, while I use the owl as my symbol in my books and all the things I do. And if you notice in my book, it's the open eyes or the closed eyes. Is it the inner world, or are we looking at the external world? We all have both. We all have the shadow side within. Know your shadow side, embrace your shadow side, change what you can change, and if you can't change it, that's okay, because we can only do the best we can do. But from a culturally perspective, when you're talking perspective, that's their journey for them to either break out of that or not break out of that. It's okay whichever way they go, because nothing we do is wrong. There's no right and wrong. It just is what it is. As long as we're doing the best we can do. And if we do the best we can do, nothing else can be asked for.
We've achieved that.
And I had a very wise father who moulded me quite incredibly. He was a remarkable man. He died a few years ago now, but it was always, I grew up in a world where I never heard a raised voice. My parents were married for 67 years. I never heard them argue. I never heard, we didn't do that. Not because it was wrong, but it just didn't happen. But my father always, his thing was, as long as you do the best you can do, that's all you can ever be asked of you. So I was one of the fortunate ones. I'd come home from boarding school. There are some negatives with that, because I only ever had to say I did my very best. Whether I did or not was totally immaterial, because I knew it didn't matter, because he'd still love me.
Do your children use that on you now? Your kids are using this on you now?
No, because my kids know me well enough.
Yeah.
But no, I was very much like that with my kids anyway. I believe that we can only ever do our best. We can't all be winners. I was never a winner. And I learned as a very small child. I wasn't a winner. And that's okay.
So is that the dark side of you, just coming out now? You just said I was never a winner?
No, I don't see that as a dark side. I see that more as that's a reality in school. School is very difficult for me.
Do you see yourself as a winner now, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, the other people that are watching this now, you say that with such confidence. I love that. Of course, yeah. What the hell? But I think that's what I think about a purposeful life is there is no real defining what success is or defining what happiness is. It's not. Each person finds their own.
Success is for the individual. It's got nothing to do with what anyone else thinks, how anybody else views it. It's all about how the person feels inside. So if the person has a low self-esteem or they're living in that victim mode, they're going to see the glass half full. If they're not, they'll see it half empty. Half empty and half full, the other way around. I think it's very much, it's how we all view the world, and we either view it from a wonderful place or from a not so wonderful place. For me, life is wonderful. It doesn't mean I don't have challenges in my life.
Sure.
I do have challenges every day. But I've learned how to overcome that. And I'm very mentally strong. And I probably learnt that as a child also. How to be really mentally strong and override everything, which I have done to my own detriment in my life. But that's okay because I'm learning about that.
That is okay, and you are learning about that. Jennie,
I'm learning.
Don't go away. We've got one more session to go. Stick around. Do not go away because what I'm about to reveal with Jennie, you won't want to go anywhere. We'll talk to you soon.
Did that make sense?
Thank you, Jennie. Welcome back. Welcome back. You know, I guess life sucks sometimes, doesn't it?
Yep.
And we get so caught up that we have to forego some sacrifices for us to be successful. I mean, sometimes you'll be so wrapped up in what you're doing within your business that the minutes turn into hours and the hours turns into endless hours. And I'm even guessing that sometimes we forget to eat. Like I'm thinking, you know, right now I just had a thought that even Albert Einstein's mother would have said something like, "Albert, come inside now, stop playing with your hair, you must eat."
I do the same thing.
It's a pretty good accent, that one, wasn't it?
Very good.
I went hard on that one. So, have you ever forgotten to eat? Because you've been so caught up in what you're doing.
I do it most days, and because I have health challenges in that area, it's quite interesting because I get to the end of the day and think, oh, I forgot to have lunch and I forgot to have breakfast, but I've drunk lots of coffee. But it happened again to me today because I was caught up with a podcast this morning and this tonight, and I had to go and do some shopping, but I was studying all day, doing assignments or assessments, and I just lost time. I love computers. It's the greatest gift that this world has to me, is being able to have computers and communicate with people as well. Because it's something I wasn't brought up, and when I went into business, there's no such thing as even as a fax machine or a photocopier or anything like this. I use Gestetners.
Did you have a Gestetner?
I had a Gestetner.
Okay.
That's how my first newsletter started. So yes, it was a very different world. So I don't think people realise today just how privileged they are with what they have with the internet. Yes, the internet can be a challenge and can cause a lot of problems, but it is the greatest gift also for us to learn, to gain information, to become better at who we are and what we are. My computer's like, I have an addiction to it. Yeah. Maybe I need some help.
Yeah. Before I let you go, because I do want to just wrap up with a few other things with an on-purpose life. Can you have too many purposes or conflicting ones or differing ones?
I believe we have one main purpose in life, and that when we're born we come with a purpose of what we're to do with our life. And I don't think it's meant to be as difficult as people make it out to be. Yes, we can have a lot of different purposes because there are different things that we do that get us to where we want to go. So I think it's almost like there's this overarching purpose, but we have to do a lot of things to get us there. It's like building, having a goal for something. It's all the actions that have to go to make that goal happen. So no matter what the goal is, we have to do an enormous amount to get to that end bit. So it's like having all these little purposes on the way to take us. But the main vision that we have, if we really are in touch with ourselves, the main vision we have for what our purpose is, if we're blessed enough to know it, is really clear. But to get to that stage in life, you have to have done a lot of inner work. You have to have spent a lot of time really, who are you, what are you, and accepting the good and not so good.
What if I find out that my purpose is for no good?
Well, it may not be. I remember somebody saying to me, and I don't know if this is appropriate to be here, but I remember going, and I'm going back a long, long time now, probably nearly 30 years, 25 years or more. And at that stage I was learning hands-on healing work because I work energetically. And I remember the teacher I had saying to me what a good job Hitler did. And I remember looking at him horrified. And he said, look what it took to make the world wake up. What's wrong with humanity? That we had to have such horrendous things happen for us to wake up. It's exactly the same now. Why do we have to have the horrors of life for us to suddenly wake up? Why can't we see it? Why can't we see what we're doing out there? Why can't we see what we're doing to our children out there? It's another subject altogether, but it's something that I look at the kids of today, they just don't have, they're not children anymore. What are we doing? What are we doing to our future generation? That's the legacy I live and I leave as a parent, as a grandparent. And that concerns me. And what about their children and their children?
I wish we had so much more time because I could really delve in deep about all that, you know, about you know, the upbringing of children and the legacy we leave behind, because that's another great topic that we can talk about. Before we wrap up, I want to maybe just lighten some things up a little bit, because you know I like to lighten it up just a tad. We all make mistakes. We know that.
We're human.
We are human. We've all had embarrassing moments. What's your most embarrassing moment?
I can't even think of one. Honestly, I really, maybe I embarrass myself all the time. I cannot think of an embarrassing moment.
Think about that. Stay with it.
It probably may have been something when I was in school days. I don't think I've had that as an adult. I think it was maybe something I had more as a child, and I'm just trying to remember. Maybe I remember as a child being punished for something that was said that I didn't do, but I was punished for it and severely punished, and that was really because it wasn't me. I tend to be the kid who always took the blame for everybody else. You know, I was a little bit slower than everyone else, so I was the kid who was always at the end, and so consequently I paid the price for that. But I don't know, embarrassment.
That's okay. I'm loving it that you're thinking. Digging because the kids will be watching this and going, yeah, Mum, I've got 5 different embarrassing moments I could have given you on that day.
I'm sure my children have plenty.
Oh, are you kidding me?
I get reminded regularly.
Yes, regularly.
You remember when you broke the wooden spoon on me? You know?
That sort of stuff, yes. Because you hit the table. That's what
no, hit them.
Hit them, yeah. So let me ask you.
We were allowed to do that in those days.
Allowed, I love that. I think we could do that.
I think we should do it a little bit more often.
Well, there's another topic we got. I've got someone finally that's into violence.
It's not about being into violence. I think it's more about sometimes we have to have something to shock us, to grow, to make us see reality. I remember my youngest grandson, the first time I said to him, he would have been about 2 years old. And I looked at him one day, he'd been really naughty, and I said, "You're a very naughty, naughty little boy." And he looked at me, and his eyes filled up with water, and his eyes were so big, he was horrified. No one had ever told him he was naughty before, and he is a naughty little boy at times. And he was horrified, and he threw himself on the ground, and he screamed and he cried, and I thought, you've been told the world is perfect. The world is not perfect. The world is what it is, and we have to conform to the world, whether we want to or not. So when it comes to the education system of today, I'm fairly critical. And I look at a lot of the teachers, even the teachers my children had, they weren't acceptable to me. I don't think they were good enough at times, and I look at the teachers I know today, and I think I'm pleased they didn't teach my children. Sorry if there's any teachers in the room. But no, when I grew up, teachers were revered. A lot of the teachers, not all, and there's some very dedicated teachers out there, but a lot of teachers I see today, they do it because that's what they do for a living, not because it's a calling. And teaching is a calling. It's like being a nun or being a doctor or it's a calling. It's something that comes from within to serve. We've lost that. And our children feel that because they're not getting that now.
Well, Jennie, I would love the opportunity to sit down with you with a coffee and maybe help me find my purpose, because I still struggle with it. No, seriously, I still struggle with where my purpose is and what it is that I do. And I know, I've been watching a lot of, videos, the TED videos, the YouTube videos about it only takes you 10 minutes to find your purpose. But I think I'd like to go through a process and a step to maybe, find out where I'm at. And who knows, I could be doing some bad stuff.
There's no such thing.
Well, I'll show you, there could be. I'll be the first one.
But there's nothing, it is all perfect.
Oh, it's all perfect. I love that saying, it's all perfect. See, I am perfect.
So it's, wherever we're at is where we're meant to be for the next stage. It's all perfect. It's all, as I would say, in divine order.
I have had an absolutely wonderful time here on the couch, and I am blessed to have you sit on the couch with me. Can you please put your hands together for Jennie Gorman? Now, Jennie, I can't just let you go because, look, there's a book sitting here called Awesome Authenticity. You've got many books. You're a great author. You've got like 6 websites out there. As I said earlier on, there's 380,000 hits back on YouTube about or on Google about your name, Jennie Gorman. So it's not hard to find you. But I guess for me, this has been a real eye-opener for me, because I struggle with this side of the spirituality and this side of the, the energy side, and I struggle with that because I'm a guy.
Can I make a suggestion?
Please.
Stop trying to think of it as that.
And feel it.
Just be.
Just be.
Just be who you are, because who you are is perfect.
Oh, can you say that again? We might have to do that as the grab at the beginning. Just say that one more time. Just one more.
You're perfect for who you are, Gerald.
That's terrific. So if somebody wants to contact you, how do we do that?
They can email me, jennie@jenniegorman.com.au.
Put all the links on the screen.
Or they can come through my website, or they could call me, or they can find me on one of
Facebook.
my 38 social media sites. I answer everything. Don't send a Gmail, because I don't answer Gmail. Don't go to them. But answer me on Jennie Gorman. I'm there.
You'll be there. It's been an absolute pleasure. And if you want to join me on the Point TV or be one of our fabulous studio, well, some of them are fabulous, not all of them, and you want to be out there, they know who they are, and you want to be out there and sit there and watch the person who I'm about to interview, or you would like to sit on the couch with Jennie here, we should get you back on with somebody else
I'd
on here.
love
Would
to.
you do that? Would you come back
Yeah.
on? We'll talk about something else. Maybe child discipline will be the next topic we can talk about.
I'd love to talk about
Really?
that, but it might get banned.
Oh, nothing will get banned. This is an open TV show that we've got here. So please join me for our next one. We'd love your company on here. And don't forget, if you have some story to tell, we're ready to hear it. Thanks very much.
Thank you.